What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon, the Lady and Lamar. This is the sexiest podcast in the world, the Lady and the Don. As always, Lamar, how are you?
I'm awesome. I'm amazing. Every time when I'm here, and my day is always better. How are you,
Yeah,
Tony? How are
I
you
am
doing?
great too. I am great. I'm happy to be with you as always. So we are going to talk about some Winds of Winter stuff. We haven't done that a lot. And we're going to give people here basically a character breakdown. We're not going through whole chapters that have been released in Winds of Winter, but focusing on specific characters and seeing if it's going to end for them differently than it did in the show. Now, we're going to start this one off with Sansa Stark. Now, I would say out of everybody else that we can actually talk about from seeing their characters in the show, I believe that Sansa Stark's is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, different than what we've seen so far.
Definitely. There's such a difference between the show and the books, and I'm really interested to see how George does it. But obviously, we do have our opinions on it too, right?
Yes, of course. So, because in the show, we see a different side of Sansa. Like we see in the show, and we're not going through the end of Sansa, how it ends, because the Winds of Winter is not where it will end. So we're not going to talk about the ending. It's just what led up to the ending. So in the show, what we see is we see Sansa with Peter Baelish, and then we see basically the main thing that happens to her is that she gets married off to Ramsay Bolton. And then while she's married to Ramsay Bolton, despicable things happen to her. We see she gets raped and everything else, and he just abuses her until the point when she escapes with Theon up to the wall with Jon Snow. We know that that does not happen to her whatsoever in the books.
Yeah, the books portray it differently. That's why, again, her story is separate from the show, but there's so many similarities of what potentially can happen. Her role in this entire lovely story.
Yeah, because in the books we know that that's not Sansa's character, that's Jane Poole, right? So they
Yep.
sub Jane's Poole for Sansa Stark, and maybe they did it for show reasons to give Sophie Turner some more stuff to do, but that's obviously how they did it. But in the books, we see that she never even makes it up there. She's actually in the Vale, and while she's in the Vale, she's masquerading as Littlefinger's bastard daughter. So it's a totally different situation that we find herself in. Now, we do see that there are some things that are a little bit the same from the books and the show. Mainly, we see that Sansa is going to be married off. Now, as we've seen Littlefinger use Ramsay in the show to marry off to, in the books, he's trying to marry her off to a guy that we know as Harry the Heir. So it seems like she's still basically in the same situation, that she's just a pawn right now, a pawn for
Exactly.
Littlefinger to be married off.
Yeah, she may not go through all the hardship that this other character, I keep forgetting, Jane, is going through, but her role will still be demeaning. I mean, not her role. In a way, being a pawn, just being used for, being married off to somebody to get a title or to get ahead. Again, she has, in a way, no will of her own so far.
Yes, exactly, and that's what we see. We see a lot from a lot of women in Westeros. That's basically what their value is. That's basically their worth to their fathers or to any High Lord. A woman is really just a pawn, just to be sold off and to solidify houses together and to make houses stronger. That's basically their role in this. And I think that maybe Sansa's arc is not that, is to take more power from that in the end and not become that pawn and maybe become a more of a player instead of a piece. So we're going to talk about in this episode mostly about what's going on there, and that is a love triangle that we have going on with Sansa, because we have a love triangle and it is between Harry the Heir and Sweet Robin. Now, who is Harry the Heir? That's what people you may have didn't read the books. If you don't understand who Harry the Heir is, Lamar is going to explain to you exactly who this man is.
So, who is Harry the Heir? Harold Harding, often called Harry the Heir, and sometimes the Young Falcon, is a gallant, handsome squire, an award of Lady Anya Wainwood. He is the heir presumptive of Lord Robert Arryn and would ascend to rule of the Vale as Harold Arryn. Should Lord Robert die without issue,
Whole thing when you deal with like who's rightful thing. It's a huge mess, and I can go through the whole thing right now if you really wanted to, but it will take a second, and it is confusing. What we do know that it's not an unknown fact. Everyone knows him as Harry the Heir, so there's really no reason to go through it and say this is the reason why. Everyone in the story knows him as Harry the Heir. Littlefinger knows this, and this is who Littlefinger wants Sansa to marry, is Harry the Heir. It's not like this is a secret plot that Littlefinger's going through, like he's got this plan behind everyone's back to marry Sansa to him. Everyone knows it. Even Sweet Robin knows this, and we can tell that from this clip right here.
I hate that Harry, Sweet Robin said when she was gone. He calls me cousin, but he's just waiting for me to die so he can take the Eyrie. He thinks I don't know, but I do.
Yeah, so as we can see right there, Sweet Robin, he knows the deal. He knows the plan about Sansa marrying Harry, and he also knows the plan that Harry wants to take his throne. And I think that's something that's very important, because a lot of people, as he says, he thinks I don't know it, but I do. Now, do you think a lot of people don't believe that Sweet Robin is strong enough or smart enough to overcome this situation, or do you think that people really are underestimating him?
I think in the books and in the show, they are trying to protect him, and I don't think they have much faith in him per se. They cannot say it out loud because that would be, I guess, treason. But I don't think they put much faith in him and his health, especially his health. It's not just about what kind of person he is, but it's health. It's his health and the way he's been treated. He cannot even walk down when they have to make the descent, and he just cannot do much by himself. He's very much helpless.
Yeah, he is very helpless, but I think that could make people underestimate him. And we see here from this next quote that we're going to read right now, that seems that Sansa is going along with this plan of Littlefinger and is happy to do so.
Your lordship should not believe such nonsense, Elaine said. I'm sure Sir Harold loves you well, and if the gods are good, he will love me too. Her tummy gave a little flutter. He doesn't, Lord Robert insisted. He wants my father's castle, that's all. So he pretends. The boy clutched the blanket to his pimply chest. I don't want you to marry him, Elaine. I am the Lord of the Eyrie, and I forbid it. He sounded as if he were about to cry. You should marry me instead. We could sleep in the same bed every night, and you could read me stories.
So right there, you hear that Sweet Robin does know that Sansa is involved with Harry the Heir, like that's her plan, that she's going to marry. Now, what do you think? Because when we really look at it, he says in order for Harry to get his throne, something has to happen to Sweet Robin. So we see Sansa willing to take care of Sweet Robin. Is she like a bad person? Is she willing to do you think she's willing to something terrible to happen to Sweet Robin in order for Harry to take the throne? Is she about that life?
You know, again, the show versus books. In the show, I thought she really didn't like him much, and actually was very, very annoyed. And as compared to the books, in books, I had the feeling that she cares about him more, meaning maybe not in a romantic way at all, but more of a big sister, somebody who kind of doesn't want harm to come to him. So I see those differences, and I find it very difficult to believe that she would actually willingly be she would be willing to do something to make that death happen or accident to him happen.
Yeah, it seems like maybe she would be from what we're seeing right now, because if Robin knows that the only way Harry can get it is that something bad has to happen to him, and she's over here talking about marrying him, she knows the plan. So it seems like she could be with it. And this next quote, it kind of spells out why she would be willing to do it.
Elaine loved it here. She felt alive again, for the first since Lord Eddard Stark died.
Yeah, so we always got to remember what Sansa's been through. You know, just because she's been through all that, is she just trying to find a peace? And this is the first time she felt, alive since her dad died. Probably the first time she's felt comfortable or kind of safe since she's left King's Landing. So should that be maybe an excuse for her if she was willing to allow something to happen to Sweet Robin? Should we look at it as the ends justify the means?
You know, I I still think that in the show, well, not in the show, but in the books, that she is still not. She hasn't discovered who she is yet, and it's kind of like a battle between what do I do to become, well, queen. She always wanted to be queen, so, or to be in power in a way, to be having different life, having more. So I do see how, for example, the lessons that she received at court would play into that, to play the role, to do whatever you have to do in order to, to get where you need to be. So she has her hopes apparently on this Harry, who may bring her to greatness. But again, for that greatness to happen, an innocent, in a way, boy has to die.
Yeah, and basically it does come down to what Sansa has learned up until this point. She has a couple of lessons she has learned. And if she uses those lessons that she learns wisely, it should work out for her, because she basically has two teachers in this situation. She learned from two different queens, right? She how to handle things from two different sides. We've seen how she learned from Cersei, and we've seen what she learned from Marjorie. So it's really if she employs any one of those teachings at first to see how she can manipulate the situation in her favor. Now, we see later on during this Winter chapter, she meets Harry the Heir, and for the first time when she does meet him, he does not take to her lightly, and he's kind of rude to her, as we hear in this quote.
Sir Harold looked down at her coldly. Why should it please me to be escorted anywhere by Littlefinger's bastard? All three Waynwoods looked at him. You are a guest here, Harry, Lady Anya reminded him in a frosty voice. See that you remember that.
So I think if you really look at it, there's a little bit of parallels between Harry and Joffrey. And I think that we really see this. Sansa starts to realize this while she's over there thinking about him. And we learn that from this next quote that she says.
Sir Harold Harding looked every inch a lord in waiting, clean-limbed and handsome, straight as a lance, hard with muscle. Men old enough to have known John Arryn in his youth, said Sir Harold, had his look. She knew. He had a mop of sandy blonde hair, pale blue eyes, an aquiline nose. Joffrey was comely too, though, she reminded herself. A comely monster, that's what he was. Little Lord Tyrion was kinder, twisted though he was.
And I think that's something that Sansa has learned, and hopefully we see it play out right here, because she has a specific trope, if you really want to look at it, you know, like just being a princess, right? That's who she thinks, and the prince is this handsome knight.
Yeah.
But by her saying that about Tyrion, she has learned that look, not everyone who is good looking is good for you and is a nice person, and not everyone that's ugly is a bad person.
Exactly. And hopefully she will learn it, not just realize it. Realizing something and being fine with it, that's the different things. She may know, this person is handsome, but just an awful person, versus this person not so charming and not so pleasing, not so pleasing to the eye, but a great person. I wonder if she will, how long it will take her to not just realize it, but to accept it as facts.
Yeah, I think something may have to happen to her in order for her to fully accept it. But we see that it is in the back of her head at this particular time. I'm going to have to say that I think that she's going to follow Marjorie's lead and not Cersei's lead. Now, when you separate both of them and how they operate, though Cersei does do it at times, she doesn't do it anymore, more because she's a little bit older. I mean, she tries to, but she's not as accomplished with it. And that is wrap somebody around your thumb by using sex. And we know that this little boy is in love with her, all right, and will do anything. And we've seen that's exactly how Marjorie was able to get Tommen on her side. Now, Cersei was a more cunning person and used more plots and schemes, but this is just the old-fashioned way. I heard women say the line that men are like rugs. If you lay them right once, you can walk all over them for the rest of their life, right? So I think that is what's going to happen here. How about you? How do you feel?
That's the first time I've ever heard of that saying.
Really?
No, actually, I think I heard about it from the show that I watched. There was a show, but anyway, that's an interesting thing. especially when it comes to Game of Thrones and how women are treated as, again, property and just pawns in this whole game, and to have some power, I guess the only power that those women have, and that, in that reality, is whatever's between their legs. Hard, but truth, nonetheless. And Aaron, yeah, he's in love with her, and he may do whatever she wants.
Exactly. I have to go with you on that one too, but I also think that I like to use a chapter and use other things to help me figure out exactly how it's going to go down. And I think if we look a little bit earlier in that chapter, we could see actually how this might end for them from this quote right here.
You are such a little fool. Your lord's bannermen will care. Some call my father up-jumped and ambitious. If you were to make me to wife, they would say that he made you do it, that it was no will of yours. The Lord's declarant might take arms against him once again, and he and I should both be put to death. I wouldn't let him hurt you, Lord Robert said. If they try, I will make them all fly. His hand began to tremble.
Exactly. So that truly brings us back to why they are all there. And why they are all there is because right now there's a tournament that's about to start, and the tournament is to see who would be Lord Robin's, basically his King's Guard, right? That's what it basically comes down to. And when you look at the King's Guard, and this is supposed to be their version of it, what is the King's Guard? The King's Guard are loyal to the king over anybody else. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. Whatever the king says goes. So that's what I think in the end what will happen is Robin will get his King's Guard. Sansa will realize exactly that she is the beauty in this beast type situation. We've already seen her do that kind of with the Hound and not go all the way. But I think it does go all the way here. And I'm not saying Sweet Robin's, ugly like the Hound, but I'm saying she would still be considered the beauty in dealing if she got with him. I think that's how it will end. And as he just said, he will protect her and not let anything happen to her. I think that's what happens in the end, that Sweet Robin will kill Harry the Heir, and Sansa will marry Sweet Robin when it's all said and done and take the Eyrie.
That would be a very nice way for Sansa to develop as a person, going from wanting beautiful, princess, or to be a queen, to a king who's handsome and just only on the outside. And for Aaron, for Sweet Robin to be her beast, but not, like you said, beast in the way he looks, because I don't think they describe him as ugly or anything. I mean, he's going through as a teen or preteen, however old he is. I'm sure it's not the best phase in somebody's life, but even the ugly ducklings turn out to be handsome at some point. There's a chance for that, but I see that that would be great for her to realize it. And like you said, with Hound, it didn't happen. For whatever reasons, we were kind of teased with it, and her memory of it was a little bit twisted, but that's how she was learning about the differences in people looks versus what's inside a person in their heart.
Yeah, and I think that we did see Sansa get raped in the TV show. A lot of people did not like that, even though it really wasn't her character. But I could say that it may happen here. I could see Harry the Heir forcing himself, and this is arrogance and everything else. He already has a bastard. Everyone knows how he is. He thinks he's hot shit or whatever. He could try to force himself on her, and this could be the thing that winds up pushing Sansa over the edge. Finally use Queen Marjorie's tactics and get this kid underneath my wing and have him do my bidding for him. And eventually he may pass away and everything else. I'm not sure. I'm not going to get into that. We're just talking Sansa right now. But I think that's basically how it ends for Sansa in the Winds of Winter, her taking over the Vale.
That would be a great way for her to develop as a person, as a character. And I would like to see that for her, just, to learn something from it as a character.
All right. And now we have to get into Littlefinger, but we won't do it in this episode. We'll do it in another episode. So if you're wondering why we weren't talking about Littlefinger, because it's the Sansa episode, right? So next time you see us, we will talk about other characters in Winds of Winter, and one of these videos will be Littlefinger. If you have a specific character that you would like us to discuss, please put it in the comment section, and we will get to it as soon as possible. Elamar, thank you as always for rocking with me. I cannot do this without you.
My pleasure, Tony. Anytime, and I just can't wait for the next characters.
No doubt. And if you like the way we do this, please thumbs up this, please spread this across the realm, and please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace.
And stay sexy.